Wyldfyre is a character that I've been very critical about over the course of Dragon's Rising, to the point where there are people who believe I genuinely do not like this character. Which I've always maintained is not true. I've always thought Wyldfyre had a very valued addition no matter what season she was in. I always thought that she had at least something to contribute to the table. I just think that there were certain seasons where they just kind of dropped the ball when it did come to the character. But as of Season 4 Part 1, I feel like we've actually taken a very different trajectory here. I feel like we've actually got a whole new angle when it does come to this character, and it's made me realize that she has slowly but surely become one of my favorite aspects of Dragon's Rising. But it's just a simple case of it wasn't easy to actually get to this point. So that is what I want to go through today. Go through each and every single season when it does come to Wyldfyre. Talk about how I just genuinely felt by that point in time. And just go over how now it does genuinely feel like she's become a very good character, but I do think there is still room for improvement. But more on that in a moment. But let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about how Wyldfyre is actually kind of going now. But if you are somehow unfamiliar with who Wyldfyre is, let me just give you a quick description on who she is. Wyldfyre is the current Elemental Master of Heat, a ninja student and Roby's girlfriend. She is a feral child raised by a tribe of lava dragons in the lava wastes. She came to the wilderness via a mysterious crash landing, where she was raised by her caregiver Bot and Heatwave. Following the merge, Wyldfyre assumed the role of the Elemental Master of Heat. When the Claws of Imperium managed to capture Heatwave, however, Wyldfyre ventured into Imperium, and eventually found herself captured. But with the help of Lloyd, she eventually was freed and also freed Heatwave and the rest of the dragons, and eventually joined up with the rest of the ninja. Which brings us directly into how she was actually characterized within the first season of Dragon's Rising. Initially speaking, she was much more of a hardened type character. She always preferred the company of dragons over humans. She always viewed humans as essentially weak, and almost to an extent disposable. She was essentially just someone who put her fighting aspects ahead of her actual thinking aspects, which is fair enough, especially considering the fact that she is quite hot-headed. So in a lot of ways, she just is a reflection of a younger version of Kai. She just had that, generally speaking, blunt nature initially speaking. She was very upfront, she was very disrespectful if that was intentional or not, and she just didn't really hesitate to say whatever she wanted to say. But the thing is that despite all of this, she still was fundamentally a good person and a hero by all accounts. We saw many times that she was willing to lay down her life even when the odds were against her when it did come to the people around her. She was more than willing to do whatever it took like a ninja would. And you just see that reflected in her character development throughout the course of Season 1 Part 2. You see her go from a more rash, a more harsh person to someone who is more willing to actually interact with the people around her. She goes from not really liking Kai whatsoever to having that really cool dynamic. By the end of the Season 1 of Dragon's Rising, you realize that they do have this really nice bond, and I think it's just nothing short of special, especially considering that 10 episodes before, they were lighting each other on fire. I can honestly say that by the end of the first season, I had a lot of hope when it did come to Wyldfyre. She wasn't my favourite ninja by that point, or my favourite new ninja by that point, because since the very beginning, I've always been a massive fan of Sora. But the thing is that I had a lot of hopes for her. I thought there was a really interesting concept, I liked how unique her background felt, and it really did feel like we were going to get something interesting. Especially with the fact that the end of the season confirmed that she did have different powers to Kai. I was hoping they were going to explore the heat aspect of her. I was hoping they were going to explore what made her truly unique, explain where she came from. It really did feel like the door was wide open when it did come to Wyldfyre, and I was just very excited. But then actually came the release of Season 2 Part 1, and it felt like she almost plateaued. And that's not a bad thing whatsoever, the season had a lot of things to focus on, but it did just feel like she was kind of just there for the ride. The thing is that they essentially sidelined her within the season, because she broke her leg. But the thing is that there was nothing overly wrong with it. She still got those really nice little moments that definitely did feel good. I liked the interactions which she had with Eagles. I just definitely was sat there hoping that maybe we were going to have a little bit more, but I wasn't concerned whatsoever. The thing is that the season did need to focus on a lot of other aspects, so it didn't feel like it was overly a negative thing. And luckily, I was right for the most part, because that's when we got to Season 2 Part 2, and honestly, this was just really good. By this point in time, Kai was in the nether space, and we got to see Wyldfyre mature because of that situation. It felt like one of the first major instances where she had to develop, and I like where they actually took her in this moment, because we got to see her try to live up to Kai's name. We got to see her try to be the Red Ninja, try and have that mantle, and try and make Kai proud wherever he actually was. And I think that was just nothing short of brilliant. I like the fact that they really had this feeling that she wanted to do better, and she really did succeed at that, and I thought it was amazing to see. And it only got better because then they also introduced Roby. They introduced an anchor for her. They introduced a human that she could love just as much as she loved the dragons. And I think that was just, again, nothing short of amazing. I like the dynamic they had. I like the fact that she got to experience emotions that she clearly never felt before towards humans. And it just felt like she had so many dimensions to her character. It felt like she had so many things going for her that just felt special. And I really did just appreciate that. And I had a lot of faith by this point in time. I really did think we were going into Season 3 of Dragons Rising with a character that could only develop from there. But this is where things, in my opinion, ultimately became a little bit more dicey. Come Season 3 Part 1, Wyldfyre still felt fine, but it felt like she did lose a few aspects of her that was making it interesting for me. The thing is that maturity that she developed in Kai's absence felt weirdly gone come Season 3 Part 1. Now you can attribute this to the fact that Kai was back, but I honestly would have thought this would have been the opportunity for Wyldfyre to continue to develop whilst in line with Kai. I honestly thought that was going to be what she was going to have moving forth. But in Season 3 Part 1, despite having some really cool moments like using her powers to heal Roby, she just didn't really feel all that much. She felt like the chaotic energy was almost coming back. And I was kind of right. Because Season 3 Part 2, in my opinion, just distilled nothing but fear into me when it did come to her character. It felt like that season just completely reverted her back to a Season 1 instance. She felt immature, she felt chaotic, she felt disrespectful in a lot of different ways. And one of the main things that I really liked about her, which was her relationship with Roby, was honestly just kind of going by the wayside. In all of the other instances we see her, she feels protective, she feels very much calm, she feels like a different person around Roby. But then come Season 3 Part 2, she just feels like almost chaotic and obsessive when it does come to him, which is just not what I would have expected whatsoever. She's getting angry, she's getting bitter, just anything surrounding Roby, and it just didn't really feel all that right. And then what made it worse is that when she realizes that Roby is actually hollowed, she honestly should have become more mature in that moment. But she doesn't. When the ninja are trying to remember the charm to awaken their half of the Archdragon, she is borderline obstructing what they're trying to do, just chiming off random songs and interrupting and doing really strange things. Of course, in the end, she does actually ring it correctly, but the thing is that she has these moments that really do feel out of character. With Roby being hollowed, you would think that Wyldfyre would become very serious, very jaded, very to the point. You would think that she would become to an extent like how she was with Kai, but in a more extreme fashion. And I was really looking forward to seeing this, but we just simply didn't get it. We just got her honestly just being kind of worse, which just doesn't feel correct with everything that has been established by far. So I got extremely concerned, I got very worried, and that's a lot of the reason why people think I didn't like Wyldfyre. Is because I addressed these criticisms and was definitely concerned about how she was going to go moving forth. If they were going to revert her character to a more immature sense, what was going to be what happened to Wyldfyre? What was going to be her development moving forth? Was she going to have to learn to be more mature again? Was she going to have to suffer a similar fate with Kai again? It really did scare me because it felt like we were repeating things. And Dragons Rising has a very limited screen time. There's a lot of things that Wyldfyre just simply hasn't had the opportunity to have. Again, more on that later. And it felt like if they were going to retread her, it was just going to be a complete net negative. So I was genuinely worried. I was borderline scared. So I was honestly entering Season 4 with the assumption that Wyldfyre could have been ruined. But luckily, I was wrong. And I honestly do think this is the reason why I consider it to be good again. I really do think it's going to be one of those things where it feels like Wyldfyre was completely course corrected, and moving forth, there's a lot of faith in her once more. Because come season 4, she has moments of maturity, she has moments where it really shows how intelligent she's become. It is nothing short of fantastic. And it's all encapsulated in when we actually get to see the Land of Eternal Dawn. We get to see her take more of a leadership role. We get to see her actually feel more intelligent with every decision that she makes. We get to see her be the entire reason that all of the new ninja actually got out of the Land of Eternal Dawn. We get to see her rise above her base instincts and actually go beyond in an attempt to save the people around her, which is just amazing. We see her adapt to not having powers. We get to see her dynamic with Kai feel a lot more nice and warm-hearted again. We get to see her really thrive on her own, and it's just nothing short of amazing. It feels like all of the personality that she has developed over the course of the years has just randomly come back. And I'm just all for that. I like the fact that it really does feel like she's actually being able to show off all the development that she's actually had. I just think it's amazing because I just really like how the character is progressing. And I really do think it's a complete and utter course correction. And again, there are still more examples throughout Season 4 that really demonstrate it. Like I said, I've already talked about how she's adapted to not having powers, but it's actually more beyond that. We just get to see her just use general intelligence. We get to see her actually care for people. We get to see her actually have more concern for people around her. I always think of how concerned she was when it did come to Ryu. I love seeing how protective she is over the ninja once more, because to an extent, it really did feel like that kind of went away. This has definitely made me feel very excited for Season 4 Part 2. I can't wait to see how they continue with the character. Even if she has to plateau again like she has before, I really wouldn't mind it, as long as she just doesn't regress like she did in Season 3. But the thing is that with all of this positivity does come one thing, which is the space that she does need for further improvements, and what I would honestly like to see. There are a lot of obvious ones that I can select. Show her development in her relationships with the ninja. Don't just focus on Kai and Roby. Focus in on all of the other dynamics that she can have. Focus in on how she interacts with Cole, with Zane, with Jay. It would be really cool to see how that actually goes, because I do think those relationships are also very worthwhile when it does come to the character. But for me, more interesting ones would be actually just expand on who she is and where she actually comes from. I will say, we do know that we're not getting the Wyldfyre backstory within Dragon's Rising, which is a massive shame, may I add, but I do still think in some form of external media, it would be absolutely prudent to really demonstrate where she came from. How she came to be is a mystery, and I really would like to know the answer to it, because it would provide a lot of context for who she truly is, and what she's actually capable of. Whilst we see her continue to rise up, it would just be really nice to know where the foundation truly was. I would love to know why Wyldfyre was how she was back in Season 1. I would like to know what actual trials and tribulations she actually had to face within the course of her life. It would be amazing to see, and again, I know I'm probably not going to get it, but it would still just be nice nonetheless. But beyond all else, I would just simply like Wyldfyre to continue to be at the pace that she is. She is honestly becoming a top 3 new ninja for me. Actually, she's not becoming, she is. She is in there for me, and honestly, she definitely does deserve that spot. But I just hope they continue to build on it and really continue to demonstrate what makes her truly unique, because that is definitely what she needs right now. And she doesn't need to go back to what she was, because it would ruin everything that has been developed so far. But I honestly have faith in the Ninjago writers, and I definitely do think they're gonna do a good job with her. I just wanted to address the course it feels like she has actually gone on. But I would like to know, what is your opinion on Wyldfyre? Do you think she never went downhill in terms of her character? Do you think she ever plateaued? Do you think she's had a comfortable progression throughout the course of the seasons? I would love to know what you think, because I do find her to be a fascinating character, and I do think she is definitely worthy of that type of discussion. So I look forward to seeing what you guys think, because I definitely am curious to know. But beyond all of that, thank you very much for watching, and I do hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of you are absolute legends, and I truly cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. Okay,